Hello everyone and welcome to a wonderful game that comes as a suggestion from a subscriber. It is from 2005 from the European Championship. We just covered the European Championship. It ended 2 days ago, but this is from European Championship 2005. Magnus pretty much just got his Grandmaster title. He got it in 2004 and he's facing Russian Grandmaster Alexander Riazantsev, who's been a Grandmaster since 2001, I believe. Magnus is 15 when this was played. Riazantsev is around 19, and it's a really awesome game where Alexander puts a whole lot of pressure on Magnus, but Magnus somehow finds these incredibly ridiculous complicated moves, and he just comes up on top. So it's a really fun game. You guys will enjoy it. Let's check it out. Here we have a d4 by Alexander, and Magnus goes for the Queen's Indian defense, and then knight to f6 is not the Queen's Indian defense, but he will go for it. e6, knight to f3, and now b6, the Queen's Indian defense. We have pawn to a3, the second most popular option against the Queen's Indian, and bishop to b7. We have knight to c3, d5, we have captures, and now captures, bishop to d2, and now bishop to e7. So all very standard stuff, even by today's standards. We have queen to c2, knight to d7, and now pawn to e4, chasing away Magnus's knight. So he trades on c3, captures with the bishop. We have castles, and now rook to d1. We have rook to c8 by Magnus, and now we have bishop to c4. You might think, why not bishop to d3? Isn't that a better idea? The problem is c5. That's why bishop to c4 is played first. Now, after bishop to c4, you don't really have c5 as black. If you try c5 now, then d5 happens, and bishop gives additional support to the d5 square. So that's why the weird move order. Bishop to c4, we have knight to f6 by Magnus, now putting pressure on the e4 pawn, and only now bishop back to d3, and now Magnus strikes with c5 against the center. D captures on c5. Now you have to be a little bit careful, as the rook is nicely aligned with the queen, but Magnus boldly captures on c5 with the rook. There are no good discoveries for this bishop for the moment. So here we have castles, and now queen to a8, getting the queen out of harm's way, and also creating this powerful battery along this diagonal. We have rook f to e1. And now there is a game that was played in 1996. It was played between Vladimir Akopian and Vasil Ivanchuk, where rook to d8 was played. That game ended in a draw. But here Magnus played rook f to c8, and it is now, as of move 16, that we have a completely new game. So let's see how it continues. Of course, you have to move the queen from the c file, queen to e2, and now rook back to c7. If this was played by, let's say, Maxim Vachier-Lagrave, then no doubt we would see something like captures, and captures. Also, the a3 pawn would be weak, and you would have two connected pass pawns on the queen side, which is definitely a good idea. But also maybe just a4 and then bishop b5. It's hard to say if you will be able to claim this pawn. So Magnus decides to go back, rook 5 to c7, and now pawn to a4. You don't want to allow such a thing in the future. Pawn a6, we have knight to e5, and now bishop to f8. Now you can see that the bishop pair is very nicely placed. We have knight to c4, puts pressure on the b6 pawn, and this will win material. So Magnus needs to defend the b6 pawn. Knight to d7 was played, now queen e3, piling up on the b6 pawn. Rook to c6 defending, and now bishop back to f1. This opens up an attack from the rook to the knight on d7. Knight to c5, and now pawn to a5. Again, putting pressure on that b6 pawn, so Magnus has to capture. B captures on a5, and now knight captures on a5. Rook has to move, so rook back to c7, and now bishop to e5. Again, puts pressure on Magnus's rook. Rook to d7, and now the mighty b4. And here, it's very hard to decide what to do with white. Magnus first trades a pair of rooks. Rook captures on d1, rook captures, and now the safest way to play this is knight to a4. But it's such a weird move to play. Magnus decides to play pawn to f6, and now bishop to f4. Here you could gain some advantage with b captures on c5, and then after Magnus captures, play this very annoying bishop c4 move. It's not easy to defend the e6 pawn. Black will constantly have to worry about the passed c pawn. Also, the rook is coming to d7, so it would be very hard to defend this. But Magnus was able to trick him. He played pawn to f6, bishop back to f4, and now knight captures on e4. Still rook to d7, puts pressure on the bishop on b7. Rook to c3 attacks Alexander's queen on e3. We have queen to e1, and again, What is Magnus doing here? f3 is coming. This will remove the defender of the rook. How will he defend this? And also the bishop is still hanging. And Magnus here plays bishop to d5. He allows pawn to f3, and this is what he had in mind. Pawn to f3. Now comes bishop captures on b4. Not just attacking the knight, but also threatening some very nasty discoveries here. But Alexander plays it precisely. F captures on e4, and now bishop captures on e4. Notice that if you capture on a5, yes, you still kind of have some nasty discoveries, but after captures on d5, there's just no good move here. For example, e5, bishop to d2, and all of black's counterplay is gone. This is just completely winning for white. So Magnus plays bishop captures on e4, and now bishop to d2. Now what do you play here? Magnus plays bishop to c5 with check. He uses all of this to align his bishops perfectly in a very deadly fashion. King to h1, and now look at Magnus's next move. He plays rook to f3, and it's a weird move, but also you can feel that it's a powerful move. The problem is his position is lost, but only if white finds a very particular move, basically the only move that wins him the game. Otherwise, he's just worse. So feel free to pause the video and try to find the winning idea for Alexander while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting this weird move. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is a move with the knight back. Knight back to b7. It wasn't played in the game, but this would make things or life very difficult for Magnus, because now not only is the rook hanging, also the bishop is hanging because the queen isn't defending the bishop. So what could you play here? Only move is bishop captures on b7, and now comes the really hard move to find. The first move was kind of easy. Now bishop to a5, only winning move. Queen captures on e6, check is fine, but king h8 you have nothing. But after bishop a5, there's no defense against rook to d8, will win the black queen. There's just no way to stop that. You could try queen to a7, but then you just get checkmated. Queen e6 check, now the back rank has been vacated, rook to d8, bishop blocks, and now rook captures on f8 will be checkmate. So that's why after this rook to f3 move, the absolute best was knight to b7. But he didn't play it. He played something else. He played bishop to c3, probably with the idea of going bishop to d4 next to counter Magnus's strong bishop on this diagonal. But now it is Magnus who is completely winning. The tables have now completely shifted. So feel free to pause the video once again and now find the winning idea for Magnus while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on finding this incredible idea. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is of course rook to f2. This is what Magnus played, and now it is evident that there is no escape. Now bishop d4 is pretty pointless, as the g2 pawn is being pressured 3 times by the rook, bishop, and queen. So rook to d2 was played, but it doesn't really help all that much. Magnus just played bishop captures on g2 with check, and he was in this position on move 36 that Alexander Riazantsev resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. The problem is, okay, if bishop captures, then queen captures is checkmate. But if the king goes to g1, then rook captures on f1 is checkmate. Now it's check from rook and the bishop on c5, and now, of course, the king has nowhere to go. It is checkmate. So yeah, a very, very weird game. Like I said, I have no idea if maybe this was a time trouble issue after rook to f3, because if you don't find knight to b7, you just don't move. You don't move because you know that everything else is just lost. So I imagine maybe it was a time trouble thing, or maybe he just missed rook to f2. Again, without rook to f2, Magnus doesn't really have all that much. So really complicated game, but you can see how not just one player having the bishop pair, but both players having a deadly bishop pair can make it a whole lot difficult to calculate everything properly. And yeah, if you guys are interested, here are the standings of the tournament. Let me just load that up. It was won by Liviu Detra-Nisipeanu. These are the top 10 of the event. Liviu Detra-Nisipeanu won the European Championship 2005 with 10 out of 13, with a perfect tournament. 7 wins, 0 losses, and 6 draws. Rajabov in second place with 9.5 out of 13, and Levon Aronian with 9 out of 13 in third place. So basically sharing third place with Sergei Karyakin, Vasily Ivanchuk, Pavel Ulyanov, and Karen Azarian. Also Alexander Belyavsky and Alexander Moisenko, and then in 10th place we have Vadim Milov. Magnus nowhere near the top 10. I don't think he was even in the top 20 here, and it was a pretty big tournament, 229 players. But yeah, he did get this beautiful win, and I mean, a complicated one, but definitely a beautiful one. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have any other favorite long forgotten Magnus brilliancies, feel free to share so we can all enjoy them. I would like to thank Ravishing Reptiles YouTube, Ricky Black, I Love You Sonu, Peter Gebertsen, and Matthew Benoit for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions, such as this one and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.